Hey there, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm breaking down one of the most explosive judiciary hearings we've seen all year. Senator John Kennedy didn't just show up with notes, he showed up ready to throw down, and man, did he deliver. From the get-go, Kennedy let it rip. Americans may be poorer, but they're not stupid. Instantly, you could feel the temperature rise. He accused Democrats of trying to undermine the Supreme Court's legitimacy, not just this week, but for years. He brought up that wild moment in 2020, when a top Democrat shouted outside the court, "You have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price." Kennedy just sat back and said, "Wow, just wow." He warned the committee, words have consequences. Ow. And politics should never become personal vendettas against justices.
Member of the Court Subcommittee, Senator Kennedy of Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Americans may be poorer under the Biden administration. They are not stupid. They know what's going on here. I remember the Democratic leader's words of March 4th, 2020, on the steps of the United States Supreme Court like they were yesterday. "I want to tell you, Gorsuch," he said, not Justice Gorsuch. "I want to tell you, Gorsuch. I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions." Wow. Just wow. I think Matthew 12:36 is correct. "For by thy words you shall be justified, and by thy words you shall be condemned." Now, the sad truth is that some, not all, some of my Democratic colleagues have been on a crusade to undermine the United States Supreme Court's legitimacy and the credibility of the federal judiciary for years. Today's hearing is just the next chapter in their federal power grab, and they've invited cameras. It's worth remembering the very real persecution that some Democrats have levied on very good people.
Kennedy's punchline, the danger isn't rogue justices without ethics, it's that Democrats can't stand losing. Ouch. Then things really heated up. Kennedy described threats to justices' families, protesters outside their homes, and even an attempted assassination. He called out the Justice Department for letting it happen, reminding everyone, intimidating judges is straight up illegal. The Constitution isn't a game, folks. When it came to so-called ethics scandals,
it started with the savage destruction of Professor and Judge Robert Bork, which even the Washington Post, for God's sakes, the Washington Post said was a case of sentencing first, verdict afterwards. In other words, they gave him a fair and impartial firing squad. Then we saw the high-tech lynching of Justice Clarence Thomas. Then, for the first time in history, they weaponized the filibuster to kill Mr. Miguel Estrada's nomination, and they also demonized Justice Janice Rogers Brown, a very fine person. The United States Senate confirmed 3 new Supreme Court justices, which the loon wing of the Democratic Party loathed. The campaign of threats ratcheted up. You remember the shouts, "Let's pack the court," they said. "Let's pack the court." And the political threats of some of the highest officials in our government fueled physical threats against the justices, and we know that. "You have released the whirlwind," the Democratic leader said. Incensed protesters took to the streets, not outside Congress, not outside the court, but outside the homes of Justice Roberts, Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Thomas, and Justice Barrett. Federal law prohibits this intimidation, but the Biden Justice Department allowed it. "You will pay the price," the Democratic leader said. In that spirit, angry protesters publicized the location of the school that Justice Barrett's children attend. "You won't know what hit you," the Democratic leader said. "A man with a gun, ammunition, knife, pepper spray, and zip ties went to a justice's home to assassinate him. Actually, his stated goal was to murder 3 justices. Not so suddenly, the ends justified the means for activists, even inside the court itself. Dobbs' decision was not leaked by a left-wing blogger. Why? That's worth asking. You don't need to be Einstein's cousin to figure it out. They aren't getting their way. So they want to change the rules. The Constitution isn't a game, folks. And now some Democrats want Congress to override the Supreme Court of the United States and apply rules to its justices. The constitutional separation of powers means that no branch of the federal government can dictate how another should govern itself. That's black letter law. Now, why? This is to protect the people from abuse. The framers insulated the federal judiciary from political control to ensure that the justices would decide cases impartially, without fear of the kind of retaliation that fills the pages of some, not all, but some left of Lenin Democrats' playbook. Do my colleagues want the United States Supreme Court to tell Congress how to police itself? Even if Congress wrote a code of ethics for the Supreme Court, the court could rightly rule that code is unconstitutional. None of the laws we make here trump the United States Constitution.
Kennedy rolled his eyes. Literally. He listed every media hit job, Kavanaugh's baseball tickets, Alito's dinner guest, Roberts' wife's job, Gorsuch's land sale, Thomas's friends. He joked, Justice Barrett, hope you don't have overdue library books. You're next. Then came his showdown with witness Payne. Kennedy asked, flat out, which justices are for sale? Name them. Payne dodged.
What's more, some Democrats want to use the lower courts as a cudgel against the highest court in the land by giving circuit judges the power to rule on whether justices should recuse themselves. Consider the conflicts of interest and the confusion that would breed. Unless you peaked in high school, you must know they will be breathtaking. Now, the absence of an ethics code written by Congress in statute doesn't mean that justices lack guidance or accountability. Justices and judges routinely consult the existing code of conduct, and federal law already requires recusal in certain circumstances like bias or financial interest. We all know that. The justices are also subject to strict financial disclosure rules, just like my colleagues here. Not only is this Democratic proposal unconstitutional, it is unnecessary. The attacks on conservative justices are targeted. They're exaggerated. The alarmism is affected. The danger isn't that rogue justices are operating without ethics. It's that Democrats aren't winning every fight, and they find that reality intolerable. I've been disappointed by Supreme Court opinions too, but my Democratic colleagues should fill out a hurt feelings report and move on for the sake of the Constitution. Look, the agenda-driven story here is that Justice Thomas has a rich friend who had no business before the United States Supreme Court. For context, let's recall that history is littered with examples of public officials failing to disclose their every transaction. We can acknowledge it's required by law. It is. We can acknowledge it's the right thing to do. It is. But we can do that without maligning each justice's motives and the entire institution's credibility, for God's sakes. You know who else amended their disclosures because of inadvertent admission? Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Justice Stephen Breyer. Two good people. Justice Jackson made multiple amendments 3 days after President Biden nominated her. Not one senator brought that up during her confirmation hearings. Not one of my colleagues here walked into her hearings with the buckets of mud that they've thrown against Justice Thomas. Not one, nor should we have. In the last month, some, not all, but some Democrats and their media allies have hyped up attempted hit pieces on every Republican-appointed Supreme Court justice except for one. They've tried going after Justice Kavanaugh for buying baseball tickets, Justice Alito for having dinner with people who gossip, the wife of Chief Justice Roberts for hiring good lawyers, Justice Gorsuch for selling land in an LLC, which he properly disclosed to a major donor to the Democratic Party, for God's sakes, who he's never even met, and Justice Thomas for having a rich friend. Justice Barrett, if you're listening, I hope you don't have library books overdue. If recent history is any indicator, you're next. Today's hearing is an excuse to sling more mud at an institution some, not all, some Democrats don't like because they can't control it 100% of the time. That's a fact, and everybody in this hearing room knows that. Until they get the outcome they want in every case, I fear they are going to continue to slander it in an effort to take control of it. And I pray to God I am wrong. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all of our witnesses who have joined us today. Mr. Payne, Let me start with you, sir. You're kind of in the middle here. You work for the Campaign Legal Center, is that right?
That's correct.
Is your website campaignlegal.org?
Correct.
Does not the front page of your website say, I'm going to quote here, I want to get it right, the current U.S. Supreme Court is a threat to our democracy. The current U.S. Supreme Court is a threat to our democracy. Did I read that right?
What I can say is that our organization.
But is that on your website?
I am not certain exactly what's on the website.
Here it is, right here,
Okay.
big as Dallas.
What that refers to is the voting rights voting rights cases of the Supreme Court. Our organization is a voting rights organization that fights for all Americans to have the ability to vote.
Yeah, but you got to click a bunch of times to find that explanation. I just want to make sure I read that correctly.
Kennedy pressed. No names, just more accusations. He did the same with Fogel, grilling him about so-called bribes. Fogel denied it. Kennedy agreed. His final warning? Until they get every outcome they want, they'll keep trying to control the court. And I pray to God I'm wrong. If you want real talk, real hearings, and real accountability, subscribe right now.
A few months ago, Mr. Payne, you retweeted the following statement. Some justices are politicians in robes who thrive in a system where access and influence are for sale. Some justices are politicians in robes who thrive in a system where access and influence are for sale. Now, that's a pretty bold statement.
I'm sorry, Senator, is that a news article?
No, sir. That's a retweet here. You tweeted this out. Tell me which justices are for sale.
I don't recall that tweet, but
Here it is, November 21, 2022. Can you tell me which justices are for sale?
No.
Are any of them for sale?
No, the problem is that the American public has a perception that some justices may be.
I'm going to establish the point first. I want to know. You tweeted this out. Do you believe that some justices are for sale? And if so, which one?
No, Senator, I do not believe that justices are for sale.
Then why'd you tweet this out?
Can you provide more context of what that is?
I'll get you a copy, but here it is. I checked it and triple checked it. You also said less than a month ago that John Roberts, you retweeted this out. John Roberts is a disgrace. I disagree with Justice Roberts. Well, you didn't call him Chief Justice Roberts. You called him John Roberts.
No, you
retweeted this.
No, Senator, I did not retweet that.
Yes, sir, you did, right here.
I will need to see. Can you provide a copy to me now? But
sure.
I did not retweet.
Can you tell me why you think Chief Justice Roberts is a disgrace?
I did not say that, did not retweet that.
Oh, okay. Maybe Twitter got it wrong.
Someone got it wrong.
Let me ask you this, because the unstated premise of all this, sometimes it's stated, but the unstated premise of all this is that some justices have been bribed. Let's just cut to the chase, okay? Now, let me stay with you, Mr. Payne. Let me go to Mr. Fogel. I don't want to just pick on you, Mr. Payne. You can be looking up on Twitter where you said those things. On April 4th, 2019, the American Civil Liberties Union paid for Justice Sotomayor's trip to San Juan, Puerto Rico. You ever been to San Juan, Mr. Fogel? Is it expensive?
I keep forgetting. Well, it depends when you go.
Yeah. How much you think it costs to go down there?
Depends whether you fly first class or economy.
What if you fly first class?
Oh, probably a couple $1,000s.
Okay.
Yeah.
The ACLU, do they have cases in front of the Supreme Court?
All the time.
They do, all the time?
Sure.
Do you think the ACLU was trying to bribe Justice Sotomayor?
No, sir, I don't.
I don't either. But that's the unstated premise of all of this.
Well, Senator, if I
all
may...
these articles about Justice Clarence Thomas, the Chief Justice in the United States, and Justice Gorsuch, who sold an interest in an LLC to a Democratic donor who had never met, that they bought him, isn't it?
May I say something in response, Senator? I think there are two things going on here today. I think there is a political conflict, which is, as I said earlier, it's very intense. It's hyper-partisan. Both sides have things to say. And then I think there's an ethical issue.
When you accuse people of being bribed, it kind of gets their attention.
Sir, hold on a second. I'm not accusing anybody of being bribed. I'm not.
But some people are.
Some people are. The reason I'm here is I think that there is an ethical issue that as Senator Graham said earlier, it would be good for the court to think about in terms of being more transparent. That is what I care about. That's the only thing I care about. There's a lot of political back and forth that's very interesting. I'm very interested in it as a citizen of the United States. But I think the most useful thing that this or any other committee could do is think about how do we make our institutions...
Well, how are you going to do that in the context, though, of one of our leaders, for whom I have great respect, going on the steps of the United States Supreme Court, telling two justices if they vote in a way he doesn't like, they will pay the price and reap the whirlwind. And you have another one of your witnesses here tweeting out stuff saying, quote, some justices are politicians in robes who thrive in a system where access and influence are for sale.
Yep.
He said they were bought like a sack of potatoes.
Okay, I'm not going to comment on that, Senator. That's not anything I had anything to do with. So,
Did I hear the gavel?
I think you did.
I hope. Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Senator Hirono?
Because in Washington, truth needs backup. Capital conservatives get holding saken, quardin that the stings, bardin ting, puppet stay de warjurers, bar de, hold Washington accountable, one video at a time.